Hey, Composer Gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about the Cadential 6/4 chord progression. Now, we have not really talked about, because this is the Midi side of things, part writing doesn't make very much sense, but this is pretty much put in a part writing perspective. We are going to not take that route. We're going to look at it as just this one time, sort of a freak occurrence in the world of Midi, because I'm not going to cover part writing in Midi. I'm not even going to try, because the way intervals are looked at here is just, if you're going to get into that kind of stuff, you need to be reading music. So I'm going to leave that over there, but it's a really cool sort of chord progression trick that we have. So this is the Cadential 6/4, and as you can guess, it ties in very nicely with a cadence. So I'll play you what I have. It's just a little doodle that I put together. It's got some bass, some piano, and some drums. So here it is. Pretty nice thing, you know. It's got some driving for it. I didn't put any melody on top, just focusing on the chord progression. So the chord progression at this point, there's a whole bunch of additional 1, 4, 6, 5. You could put them in all sorts of different orders and look at them in different ways. I'm gonna let you do that because it's pretty self-explanatory once you start getting into that kind of a thing. So the Cadential 6/4, what is that whole deal about? Well, over here, this is where it happens. It's this moment right here. Let me solo this. If any of you are curious, that's the Giant library that I am using right now. It's just the Giant. Okay, so in contact. The Cadential 6/4. Now, because you're not into part writing and we're not looking at this from a part writing perspective, there's actually a variety of ways you use a second inversion chord. Now, when you're writing, you can use the root position and you can use the first inversion as a substitute to the root position chord. It's a thing that you just commonly do. However, the second position, the second inversion is not commonly used because it is considered dissonant, because the G to a C, the first inversion of the one chord, is not considered a good substitute for the one chord because there is a fourth in the bass. And this was considered dissonant. Now, I'm not even going to bother, I'm not sure if I said it in this video, but I'm not even going to bother teaching part writing because it's just like not easy to do in Midi land. If you want to learn that stuff, go over to the music theory video. I don't have them yet. I'm not sure if I'll even approach it in that series or not. You know, it's a thing in the air right now. But anyways, what's going on here? So you write a one chord and you put it in the second inversion. There's a couple basic things we'll look at. So here, as you see, the one chord in the key of C major is C. So I have a C major chord, C, E, G. But a thing about the second inversion is it is not considered a one chord. Like if you resolve to this chord, I know I used it earlier in other videos saying it sounded really less final. It's because it's not really considered a substitute for the one chord. So what is it good for then? Well, it's good because it has this amazing transition to the 5 chord. So it's a great way to put it in there. There's a variety of ways rhythmically you put it in there. I'm tossing a lot of those things out the window. There's all sorts of melodic bass lines that happen that cause this thing to pop up. There's something called the pedaled 6/4 chord. There's just all these different uses for it, but a lot of them are part writing related. So we're just looking at it sort of as a thing you can use right now to create this cool transition. So we have, because you know it sounds really nice, you know, you have the that just sounds so nice, right? So what is it? What's going on here? Well, the rule is you have the bass right here. It always resolves to a 5 chord. The bass is always, of course, you know, it's got to be the inversion of the second inversion. So it's got to have whatever the fifth is in the bass. And you double, well, okay. So I've seen examples where it's not doubled. It's sort of like a circumstance type thing. But generally you're going to double the bass. So you have it right here on the bottom, and you see that the bass, the highest note, when I say double, I mean we have the the top note will also be the fifth, whatever the fifth is. So here it's a G. So you see G is up here. Another thing is these middle guys will always go down stepwise. So they will resolve down, you know, so we have E going to D. So it's a step, and then C to B, which is another step. So it sounds very, very nice. So this is something you can just toss in here. Now, this is a very slow chord progression. You see, I have 2 bars per some of these chords. Some of them are 1 bar. The passing right here is 1 bar of the cadential 6/4 to resolve to the 5. So it resolves to the 5. Even though this is a 1 chord, it's sort of misleading because it's not a 1 chord in the sense that you would use this as a 1 chord. It's the 1 6/4. That has to do with figure bass. If you're wondering all about that, that's the whole written music thing. Go look up the video on figure bass and all this stuff. There's a whole bunch of other things that we could talk about. Like this is a very involved chord, but I wanted to toss it in here to make you aware that this is a thing and it's sort of a cool transition on a very basic looking level. Oh, I was pointing at the wrong chord. Here it is. So here, this is it. And then you see it resolves to the 1 eventually. So I sort of put off the 6/4. I put off the resolve. It resolves on the 5, and then it goes back to the 1. And I could keep going, but I chose to end because I was like, that's the end. That's just going to be the end. So yeah, it sounds pretty cool. So like, for example, let's do it in the key of D. So here, let's just really quick write out one. Why not? You know, it'd be kind of fun. So we'll just do, well, what the heck? We'll do like something similar. We'll start on D. We'll go D, F, A, F, A, F, D, F. And then we'll go, and we'll keep it. We'll do one of these things. Yeah, it's nice. I'm just sort of right now, we're going to the 5th. You know what? Let's put the 5th off a little bit. Let's do the cadential 6/4 right here. It'll sound a little, this might sound a little interesting. But okay, so the cadential 6/4. What do we need in the bass? Well, we need the 1 chord, but in the 3rd inversion. So we know that A is the bass, so we need A. And so this will, oh, you know what? This will sound kind of nice. This is our melodic bass. We have a descending melodic bass line, so it'll sound pretty cool. So we have A, and then we'll go, now we need D, and then we need the, see, this is where I might write a doubled part. Let's add in a little bit of harmony right here just to satisfy the requirements for right now. But we could probably come up with a better solution if we thought about this for a little bit. But anyways, A, and then D, and then F, right? But I need the bass to be doubled as the A, so I'll put the A right there too. So, and then we'll clone this. And then these need to stepwise down, right? So we have this stepping down, doon doon, and this stepping down, doon doon. And then we'll leave it off. You may consider adding it. That's one of the reasons I added it in the other one. So let's give this a listen. See, now this one doesn't fit the bill super good. What we could do is we could step this down to resolve to an A as well. So it'll sound like a really nice thing. We could step this up. That'll sound kind of weird. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe this could be like an intro and then we'll introduce this top part and then run with it. I don't know. It's up to you. And we don't have any melody here. So it may be okay with melodies depending on how you write your melodies. So. So as you see, we got a nice thing. So that's the cadential 6/4. Great chord progression. If you write a track with this thing in it, you know, classical piece, maybe have some sheet music, maybe probably MIDI, drop it in the comments, you know, share it with us. We would be curious to see what you wrote, even if you're brand new. I used to do this thing when I was brand new. I read this piece of inspirational advice. In fact, I was so moved by it that I made it the background on my laptop, where it talked about how great people who do great things, they accomplish a body of work. And when they accomplish this body of work, they are way better off. They've seen all the combinations. They've become more experienced. Their passion has led them to complete something that has given them something. So the body of work, you just do it. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or otherwise. Like you are just learning your craft. You're putting in the hours, and it really affected me. So I came up with this thing called Sudden Songs. And on my old channel where I post, where I used to post all the time, I'd do these things like, man, I would do one every single day. Like if I didn't write something, it got to the point where if I wasn't writing a piece of music, I like felt like I had wasted my day. Like it was affected me mentally and physically. Like I had to be working on music. I'm still like that. Like if I'm not thinking about this or thinking about something to do with music, like constantly, like I just can't, like I'm always thinking about this. It's like it consumes me in some regard. So I've actually had to let back and focus on other things and try and, you know, be more social, because all my conversations I'll turn into music conversations. Like it's just a problem that I seem to face. And so one of the things was just putting in work every single day, making things like this and just sort of messing around. So if you have something, you know, even if you're brand new at this, you know, put it up there. I used to use the most terrible MIDI sounds. Part of my goal of this body of work too was I wanted to use every MIDI sound that I had, and I got through like things. So if I had like 4 different sounds for the piccolo, I had 4 separate songs, each featuring one of the different piccolos, and they were all these terrible MIDI sounds. The oboe actually sounded pretty good. If you look up Sudden Song something or other, the oboe, you might find it that I wrote. But yeah, back in those days, man, I didn't know anything about this. I knew zero music theory. Like, you're already so much better than what I had. All I knew was that when I put notes down on that page, if I fiddled with them enough, I could get something cool. And that was like all I did. I was exclusively looking at patterns. I had no clue. I had like barely an idea of what major and minor chords were like. I had no sense of really chord progression. So I would just sit there and fiddle with it until I got something that sounded cool. And I ended up finding a lot of chord progressions and things, but I discovered them on my own and I didn't have a structure. So I learned at it that way. So when music theory was handed to me, I thought it was just the best thing ever. But yeah, subscribe. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and have a blessed day. Tends to be the thing. Chill out tracks have metal sounds, dubstep, drum and bass, they're everywhere. So I have a couple of different metal sounds to show you, because the first time I recorded this video, I didn't record it. So I just recorded the audio. So here we go, one more time. So this is so there's a whole bunch of textures you can get out of this. This is the low one.